Sports Scene presented by the Egg Bistro, of course. Interview show each Wednesday from 12 to 1. Also, sports highlights on nnpstv.com. This is your home for CBS News. Glenn Beck, Laura Ingram, and the Admirals, of course. Every Wednesday, 12 to 1, is Sports Scene, an interview show we've been doing for several years. And, of course, since this past December, right here on News Talk 1650. Tell your friends about 1650. Find me on Twitter at Greg Bick, at Sports Highlight, at GJBTV. Thank you to our military and, of course, our great guest lineup on this Wednesday, April the 16th. Matt Schultze from the Kingsmill Championship talking about the upcoming LPGA event coming up in May. Also, Andy Cohen, Pete Adrian, who is the head football coach at Norfolk State University, and Donald Hood in our business spotlight from Battlefield Guns and Ammo. Don't forget to go to our sponsors page, gjbtv.com. Of course, our guest lineup presented by Newcastle Coins and Collectibles. Phone line presented by Old Town Tavern in Hampton. Sponsors this month, 1WHKT, Newcastle Coins and Collectibles, Old Town Tavern, Fink's Car Care as well. And, of course, some great sponsors I'll be talking about a little bit later on, gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows. And, of course, you want to call, save this number, 454-1650 for a little bit later, of course. And don't forget, tunein.com. Type in WHKT 1650. Hear it on your phone. Hear it on any device. It's really, really good. Stay tuned for our next guest coming up right here. This is Sports Scene on this very beautiful sunny day after all the rain we had yesterday. Here with Ken Johnson, Greg Bickavera. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
Spring is back, and so are the Norfolk Tides. Catch the fun and excitement as your Norfolk Tides take the field at beautiful Harbor Park. Bring your friends and family to root on the Orioles of tomorrow today. Log on to norfolktides.com for more information on season tickets, groups, ticket discounts, and Tides merchandise. And don't forget to follow the Tides on Twitter and Facebook for up-to-date promotions and team information. Tides Baseball, minor leagues, major fun.
The place the locals and tourists go for U.S. rare coins and currency is Newcastle Coins and Collectibles in Chesapeake. They specialize in U.S. silver and gold coins, provide free verbal offers, and are always buying U.S. rare coins. Visit them at 681 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, across from Chesapeake General, Tuesday through Saturday, and online at newcastlecollectibles.com. Call 609-3633. That's 609-3633 for Newcastle Coins and Collectibles.
All right, back live right here on the radio, 1650 AM News Talk, your 10,000-watt powerhouse in Hampton Roads, home for CBS News. Of course, go to tunein.com, type in WHKT 1650. Hear a sports scene anywhere in the world. Of course, you got to like all the devices, laptops, computers. Just hit listen live right there at tunein.com. Type in WHKT 1650. This show will be archived tomorrow at gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. We are all about great guests, relevant guests, important guests that you care about right here in Hampton Roads and beyond. Sports Scene has local, regional, national, and yes, sometimes international guests, just like Sports Highlights on nnpstv.com. Well, we talked to Wayne Noe recently. Now we got a big event, of course, coming up in Kingsmill next month, the LPGA, of course, looking forward to that coming up in May. And the tournament director is going to be gracious to join us, Matt Schultze. Matt, welcome to News Talk 1650.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Always a pleasure, my friend. First of all, great media day last week. Great event by you and the staff there.
You know, it was great to have everybody in town. It's always great to have a couple of players come in and kind of get everybody kind of jazzed up for the event. It's great to see the players outside of a golf setting and be able to talk to them about kind of their life within golf, because it's great Thursday through Sunday, but the travel schedules and the things they do outside of that is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's always the before and after. Let's talk about your background a little bit. Of course, it was kind of like a whirlwind, like you were telling me, Matt. You kind of got the job later in the fourth quarter, and it's been pretty much a heads up ever since. You've been working busy every day for this tournament.
Yeah, you know, I switching roles from being a head golf professional at a private club to becoming a full-time tournament director. Previously was a part-time tournament director, I guess, as one of my other positions up in Richmond. And, you know, coming to work with Wayne and the team down here, knowing that we really had 20-some weeks to kind of throw the whole thing together and get it ready. It's been kind of a tornado of information, and ultimately a tournament Monday through Friday on whatever level is pretty much the same deal. But with this event, everything's a lot bigger and a lot broader. So trying to get our hands on some of those details and making sure it's all taken care of has been interesting, to say the least. But, it's become real now. In the last week, we had Media Day, as you said, last Tuesday, and we started that day also putting up the monster scoreboard. And Monday, before we got all the rain yesterday, we started building skyboxes and tents and stuff. So, it's here. It's 25 days away from when they start showing up in town. So, it's coming.
Let's talk about the dates.
So we are May 12th through the 18th. So the week starts off Monday the 12th with, the qualifier for outside, kind of the open qualifier, if you will, followed by practice rounds on Tuesday. Excuse me. Pro-Am Wednesday, and then the tournament is Thursday through Sunday, the 15th through the 18th.
Mm-hmm. This is Sports Scene right here live on the radio, News Talk 1650, about 12 after the hour. Greg Bick, glad you're with us. Also, tunein.com, type in WHKT 1650, at Greg Bick on Twitter. And, of course, Matt, from, being involved in golf so long, the weather can wreak havoc. The first 3 months of this year, the weather was just horrible in Hampton Roads. And, of course, kind of cool today after, some nice spring weather and a lot of rain yesterday. So you never know what the weather's got in store.
Correct. And, talking about last year, it seems to be the big conversation. Last year's event was cool. It was pretty similar to this week. The week didn't start out so bad, and it didn't get too bad by the end of the week, but it was cool in the morning, and having 40-degree weather in the mornings and trying to go out and play golf and get people to come watch golf is tough. So our dates are 2 weeks later this year, so we're hoping that we get a little bit more consistent spring Virginia weather, and we get a lot of people to come out and watch the action.
Virginia is pretty much a state of minor league sports. Tides, Admirals, Richmond's got their share, Northern Virginia does, but two big events that are signature events not too far away, as our listeners know, is, of course, the NASCAR race coming up in Richmond on April the 26th. That's going to be live on Fox. And also, of course, on the Golf Channel, the big Kingsmill Golf Tournament coming up in May. So really, right there in Williamsburg and Richmond, Matt, two signature events.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, the more we talk about it on a professional golf level, being a PGA professional, it's really the biggest golf event the state has now. I mean, we have the State Open of Virginia and Senior State Open of Virginia, but those really they're not the same kind of an event. They're still golf, but as far as getting, well over 60,000 people to come watch golf for 4 or 5 days, it is what, it's kind of spring in Virginia. Like you said, NASCAR kind of gets it kicked off a little bit, but we're really looking forward to a great week right after Mother's Day and getting people to come out and enjoy the best of the best. As we talked about at the Media Day, right now we've got 44 of the top 50 players coming. Surprisingly, some of the big names you'd know really don't fit that bill, the Natalie Gulbises of the world, but they're all going to be here, and we're just really, really excited about people being able to come out and watch some good golf. One thing I learned in Richmond, running a Symetra Tour event, is the talent level of these players it's second to none. They're unbelievable. We were having a conversation this morning with the Cobra and Puma people about Lexi Thompson and doing a little special thing here during the week. Her driving distance average is over 285. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys listening that wish they could hit it 285 on a consistent basis. I mean, they move the golf ball, they hit it really far, and obviously, shooting under par, they play a lot of good golf.
Yeah, and of course the river course is beautiful. And Christy Kerr, the defending champion, she also won in their 3 times overall. So unbelievable. The tournament folks, just so you'll know, the men were there from 81 to 02. The women from 3 to 9. They were idle for a couple years, came back the last 2 years. This will be year 3 since they've been coming back. Looking forward to it. But like you said, the field is always important. We know Kerr is going to be there. You mentioned Gulbis. Tell the fans about her status.
Natalie's coming back. She hasn't we've heard she's coming back, I should say. She has come every year. She has a lot of good relationships here within Williamsburg with some of the members here at Kingsmill. And she's not in the top 50, but, you know, she's one of those players that just has attraction. She's got a great personality. She spends a lot of time in social media, and she has a huge following. And I think that she's one of those players that if you asked most people, is she in the top 50 or is she not, most people would think she is, because she's a face of the LPGA. And she's had a pretty solid career. It's by no means finished, but to realize when you look through the top 50 players in the world, I had a conversation with a father of one of our exemptions who was paired with a player at Kraft and said, you know, they figured out who she was paired with and had to look her up and realize she was in the top 50 in the world. They'd never heard of her because there are so many really good players out on tour.
And that's so true, too. You talk about she's involved with social media, but you look at Anna Kournikova, she was very similar to her, pretty good tennis player, too. Of course, Gulbis is a solid golf player, but the distractions of these young ladies, the modeling and also the endorsements, and you said social media. Now, look at this. Traditional radio and TV, print 20 years ago. Now it's Facebook, Twitter. Like I said, this show can be heard nationally on TuneIn. So everything is national now, Matt, as you know. Everybody's got a platform. And I think it's almost like as much as we've got, like for a tournament like yourself, you still need to constantly promote it like what we're doing today. Always put it in the forefront of people because they can't get enough information. Look at all the TV networks we have now. ESPN's got a whole boatload of them. NBC Sports Network, CBS Sports Network. Then you got all the Golf Channel, the Tennis Channel, NHL Network, NFL Network, NBA Network. We can go on and on and on. It's almost like feeding the big well.
Correct, and I think, you know, it's amazing how much for us to stay relevant as a tournament, we do the same thing. When we know there's a player who's going to play here that's doing something, we're going to try to, you know, take their post and put it somewhere and retweet what they're tweeting, congratulating players when they win, like when Lexi won at the Kraft a couple weeks ago, you know, sending a congratulations from the Kingsmill Championship that we're excited to have her coming, because it is, you got to stay relevant, and it goes, you know, all of the social media turns so fast, and I know as I follow it when I can, when I get into Twitter and I start trying to catch up and realize all of the things that have happened in just a short amount of time, you miss so much stuff if that's where you get your information from. It's crazy how fast and how much information is out there.
Yeah, I think it's another avenue. I don't rely on it, but like this morning I tweeted it out, the radio station retweeted it. You know, I've got my followers, and then I've got my business followers and also my TV show followers. So you constantly retweet. It gets the word out. And what I like about Twitter is it's 140 characters or less. It's not going to bog you down like a blog or a story.
Correct. Yeah, you you very much control how much you want to consume at a given time. There's plenty of it out there to consume, and I think what we're all trying to do as events is try to be in the relevant space where people are looking for what you're putting out there, because it makes some sense. You know, we tweeted about the Monster board going up because for us it's the coming. It's letting people know that, hey, this is a process. When I first got here and realized that, you know, it takes 6 weeks to put this whole thing together from a build standpoint was pretty amazing. The tournament we ran in Richmond was 2 weeks. So when you start to realize all of the moving parts that go into an event like this and get people realizing that, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. And, you know, the river course, you can play it on May 19th, but there's still going to be skyboxes up because it just doesn't all go away, and it takes a while to put it all together. And then we'll have the week-long event. Hopefully everybody comes out and enjoys the setup.
Well, how is the river course right now? How's it holding up?
You know, it's exploded over the last week. We did an aerification really early, so the greens are back. I actually had my family in town because Richmond's on spring break. We played 9 holes on Sunday afternoon, and the river course is phenomenal right now. The ryegrass rough, with all the rain we've had and then a little bit of heat last week, has absolutely exploded. There were a couple times you can hit it in it right now. You don't want to be in it. So, you know, give it another 25 days, especially with the rain we had again yesterday. If the temps stay up, it's going to be a good test.
I got to ask you this question because a lot of our fans, drive by 64 on their way to Richmond and Northern Virginia, listening to our station and the 10,000 watts here. There's been a lot of deer in Hampton Roads, and Kingsmill's got a lot of deer. And I know this cold weather, warm weather. Have you noticed that yourself, Matt, randomly in the morning or just riding around?
It's interesting when I actually picked Charlie Hull up from the airport when she came in for media last week, and coming into the resort because she stayed here. Almost ran over a nice pack of about 6 or 8, which they were pretty impressed being from England. That you kind of have that atmosphere here.
Sure.
But absolutely, no question. I mean, the wildlife has been abundant lately, and it's kind of a neat thing. I mean, that's partly why most of us got into golf, is being outside and being amongst nature, and there's plenty of nature at Kingsmill.
Final few moments right here with Matt Schulze, right here, the tournament director for the Kingsmill Championship in Williamsburg, of course. Go ahead and give us your Twitter handles and Facebook and website.
So we are, you would catch me off guard on that because they don't let me do any of that, Greg.
Well, the website, of course, you got that.
The website is thekingsmillchampionship.com.
Very good. I know Kingsmill itself has got a nice Twitter handle, too. And, of course, great restaurants, great amenities. And one thing, too, Matt, is the ladies playing on the LPGA Tour seem very accessible.
What's amazing about all of the players is they have that very much down to earth, very approachable when they're not working, to be able to do whatever you'd ask of them. From my chair, it's pretty phenomenal to be able to have a couple players come to town for media day, even have Christy Kerr on a video remote, and they're happy to help because they get it, they understand what we do 365 days of the year is they reap the benefits of it for a week being in Williamsburg. So they really, really enjoy what they do, and because of what they get to do for a living, they're very, very helpful with us and the fans. I mean, we had a conversation, as I was saying earlier, about Lexi being here next week, and trying to put her somewhere for an autograph session for a half an hour. Well, the way we have the tournament set up, when they leave 18, they go through what we call the gauntlet, which is some picket fence basically to get them back up to the clubhouse. And most of the time, she's going to spend 30 or 45 minutes in that gauntlet signing stuff because that's who they are. They don't just breeze through. We create a space for them to get from point A to point B unobstructed, but they don't take it as a area where they can stay away from people. They use it as the autograph alley where they can sign autographs and be with fans and talk to them, answer questions, and catch up with people they've met over the years.
Sure. And of course, you guys give them a lot of good amenities as well. I was talking to Wayne, on this show as well, on Sports Scene right here. He was saying golf has been kind of flat in general as far as participation because of the economy, because of time commitments. What have you noticed, Matt?
I've noticed that I think we may be turning the corner a little bit, but it has. I think, what we've seen in the golf business is where people spend their quality time.
Sure.
Golf is a great game. I obviously dedicated my life to the game, but you go out on a Sunday afternoon and you want to play 18 holes, you're basically spending your day.
Right.
By the time you travel to the course play, grab a bite to eat and go home, you've given a day. And as a father with 2 young kids, it's hard to take 6 hours and go play golf. So
Sure.
I think we're all trying to figure out as golf professionals, how do we eliminate or change the game that isn't the issue with it, and we can get more people playing. Like I said, we played. I didn't watch a shot of the Masters on Sunday afternoon because I was on the back nine of the river course with my family.
Yeah.
And I was watching it on my phone, so I had a pretty good idea of what was going on, and it was, as long as Bubba had a 3-shot lead, it wasn't too big of a deal that I was missing it, because it wasn't as dramatic, I think, as some people may have hoped. But, you got to kind of pick your battles on where you spend your quality time, and as we try to make golf better or try to make golf more just how do you figure out ways for it to be faster so people play more and they don't feel like they lose their whole day. You know, I go back to being a pro at a private club, and in the days when I first got in the golf business, and we had guys that were, you know, they play every Saturday and Sunday morning, and, you know, it wasn't even a question. It's just what Dad did.
Right.
And that's not the case anymore.
No.
You know, now we were always busier on Saturday afternoons after Dad had come back from soccer and every other thing. And so I think the golf business has a big challenge to try to figure out how to get people to understand how the game could be better and it could be more played quicker. I think some of the tours are helping us with that. Some of them aren't. You know, we had the conversation the other day, you know, players having their caddies line up 3-foot putts is a little bit outside of where we need to be going with the pace of play of golf. It doesn't help. If you miss a 2-footer, you're going to miss a 2-footer. It shouldn't be whether you're lined up that well. So I think we've got some challenges to overcome that, you know, the average player is not playing in a tour event and can play 9 holes or 18 holes in under 4 hours. And that's where we have to continue to educate the public. And I know the USGA and the PGA and a lot of the organizations within golf are really pushing that direction, because if the game's going to continue to be a game that everybody really gravitates towards, we got to figure out some things to make it a little faster and a little bit less time-consuming for the average player.
Sure. May 12th to May 18th, we look forward to seeing you at the Kingsmill Championship, LPGA's finest. Matt Schulze, thanks for your time, your talent, and your treasure for joining us on the radio today, my friend.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the time.
Good. Have a great afternoon. All right.
Thank you,
of course, too. Always a pleasure. Matt Schulze right there, the tournament director, of course, for the big event coming up May 12th to May 18th. We're going to take a brief break, come back with Andy Cohen, but first, we'll talk about our sponsor right here, Southern Rustic Family Restaurant. Go by and see my buddy Brandon Mines right there at the Chesapeake Square Mall. Folks, he, of course, has got delicious food, stewed tomatoes, fried okra, pulled pork barbecue, fresh bread every day, smoked chicken salad, apple pie, classic cheeseburgers. Of course, his phone number is 465-7700. Very convenient inside. Yes, inside the Chesapeake Square Mall, Southern Rustic Family Restaurant. Go by and see Brandon, 4200 Portsmouth Boulevard. Find him on Facebook, Southern Rustic Restaurant. Like him on Facebook. Give him a call at 465-7700. Go by and eat affordable, delicious food like delicious stewed tomatoes, fried okra, pulled pork barbecue at Southern Rustic Family Restaurant. Stay tuned.
Old Town Tavern in the heart of Phoebus is your place for a great lunch and dinner. A local place in every sense of the word, specializing in fresh seafood, burgers in a basket, crab cakes, salads, appetizers, and much, much more. Open 7 days a week, Old Town Tavern has live music, pool tables, darts, HD TVs, in a spacious and pleasant atmosphere. They have daily lunch specials, live music, and entertainment. Find Old Town Tavern on Facebook and visit them at 31 East Mellon Street in the Phoebus section of Hampton, with plenty of great parking in the back. Call 251-2636. That's 251-2636. Serving seafood, sandwiches, salads, wings. You can't beat Old Town Tavern. Bringing good food and great people together in the Old Town of Phoebus. Old Town Tavern in Phoebus, the locals' choice.
Fink's Car Care is your place for all of your automotive needs. They handle state inspections, brakes, tune-ups, oil changes, transmission service, radiator repair. They have a wide variety of tires, and when it comes to your car, they do it all. Visit their 2 locations at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth and 2236 South Military Highway in Chesapeake. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573.
The place the locals and tourists go for U.S. rare coins and currency is Newcastle Coins and Collectibles in Chesapeake. They specialize in U.S. silver and gold coins, provide free verbal offers, and are always buying U.S. rare coins. Visit them at 681 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, across from Chesapeake General, Tuesday through Saturday, and online at newcastlecollectibles.com. Call 609-3633. That's 609-3633. For Newcastle Coins and Collectibles.
All right, thank you very much, Ken Johnson. Glad you're with us right here on Sports Scene every Wednesday, 12 to 1, News Talk 1650. Your home for CBS News and the Admirals. Glenn Beck, Greg Bicaveras, glad you're with us. Also go to Sports Highlights on nnpstv.com for archive shows and gjbtv.com. Hit the marketplace sponsors. Thank you to our good friends at Southern Rustic Family Restaurant, Brandon and Company over at the Chesapeake Square Mall. This segment brought to you by Luigi's Italian Restaurant in Newport News. Excellent pizza and pasta. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Delicious food at Luigi's in Newport News. Big event going on the Peninsula tomorrow with the food bank. Andy Cohen, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you, Greg?
I guess you're knee-deep into it. Talk about where you are and what's going on tomorrow.
We are knee-deep in the hoopla. We're at the Hampton Roads Convention Center. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., we've got the 21st annual Tastefully Yours to benefit the food bank of the Virginia Peninsula. We've got 36 restaurants providing food. We've got about 8 Virginia craft beers, several other beers, wines, live music by Forte and also by Jan and Charlie. It's going to be an exciting night. Tickets are $35 in advance, $50 at the door, and you can get your tickets at hrfoodbank.org.
Mm-hmm. You guys, and you also have a Twitter handle too, as well.
That we do, and I don't have it in front of me.
That's all right. That's okay. Andy Cohen, of course, right here talking about the big event going on tomorrow. Andy, I think it really is one of the top 5 signature events in Hampton Roads.
Well, we've been doing it for 21 years, and it's bigger and better every year. We expect at least a couple thousand people in the house, and we're prepared for them.
And, of course, it's been at different locations over the years. Do you like where it's at right now?
Oh, yeah. We keep growing. We started at the old Holiday Inn in Hampton. We outgrew that, moved over to the Hampton University Convocation Center. We outgrew that. Mm-hmm. We moved to the Grand Ballroom in the Convention Center. We outgrew that, and now we're downstairs in the Exhibit Hall C.
And, of course, the moral compass of this whole thing is, Andy, you guys do so much for the community, and nobody should go hungry.
Nobody should go hungry, and we expect, with the money we raise from this event, to be able to provide well over 400,000 meals. Mm-hmm. That's 400,000. That's a lot of meals.
Sure is. We'll talk about, again, where it's going to be at, what time tomorrow. It's coming up right here. Urgency, folks. You got to be there. Help support the food bank. They do so much for the community. Give us the details again, Andy.
We are at the Hampton Roads Convention Center tomorrow night. That's Thursday, April 17th, from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Tickets are $35 in advance, $50 at the door. All the money goes to support the food bank and its programs. And you can get your tickets by going to the food bank website, which is hrfoodbank.org, and look for the link for Tastefully Yours and buy your tickets.
And, of course, go there tomorrow and just walk in the door if you have to. It'll be the event of the Peninsula for the spring. Andy Cohen, all the best to you and the great people at the food bank for a successful night tomorrow.
Thank you, Greg. We look forward to seeing you.
Always a treasure. Okay, right there, Andy Cohen, Ken Johnson. We're going to take a short break, come back with more on Sports Scene after these messages.
Town Tavern, in the heart of Phoebus, is your place for a great lunch and dinner. A local place in every sense of the word, specializing in fresh seafood, burgers in a basket, crab cakes, salads, appetizers, and much, much more. Open 7 days a week, Old Town Tavern has live music, pool tables, darts, HD TVs, in a spacious and pleasant atmosphere. They have daily lunch specials, live music, and entertainment. Find Old Town Tavern on Facebook and visit them at 31 East Mellon Street in the Phoebus section of Hampton, with plenty of great parking in the back. Call 251-2636. That's 251-2636. Serving seafood, sandwiches, salads, wings. You can't beat Old Town Tavern. Bringing good food and great people together in the Old Town of Phoebus. Old Town Tavern in Phoebus, the locals' choice. The place the locals and tourists go for U.S. rare coins and currency is Newcastle Coins and Collectibles in Chesapeake. They specialize in U.S. silver and gold coins, provide free verbal offers, and are always buying U.S. rare coins. Visit them at 681 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, across from Chesapeake General, Tuesday through Saturday, and online at newcastlecollectibles.com. Call 609-3633. That's 609-3633. For Newcastle Coins and Collectibles.
Fink's Car Care is your place for all of your automotive needs. They handle state inspections, brakes, tune-ups, oil changes, transmission service, radiator repair. They have a wide variety of tires, and when it comes to your car, they do it all. Visit their two locations at 2711 Victory Boulevard in Portsmouth and 2236 South Military Highway in Chesapeake. For more, log on to finkscarcare.com and call 545-3573.
Spring is back, and so are the Norfolk Tides. Catch the fun and excitement as your Norfolk Tides take the field at beautiful Harbor Park. Bring your friends and family to root on the Orioles of tomorrow today. Log on to norfolktides.com for more information on season tickets, groups, ticket discounts, and Tides merchandise. And don't forget to follow the Tides on Twitter and Facebook for up-to-date promotions and team information. Tides Baseball, minor leagues, major fun. Let's get back to Greg Bigoveris and Sports Scene on 1650 WHKT.
All right, and welcome back to Sports Scene right here live on News Talk 1650, your 10,000-watt voice of CBS News in Hampton Roads. Also, tunein.com. Type in WHKT, and, of course, go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. This show will be archived tomorrow afternoon. Always a pleasure to talk to you every Wednesday from 12 to 1. We had Matt Schultze on, the tournament director of the Kingsmill Championship, talking about the LPGA, Andy Cohen, as well with the food bank. And now I want to welcome Pete Adrian, the head football coach at Norfolk State. Does a great job year in and year out in the MEAC. Pete, welcome, my friend.
Thanks for having me on the show, Greg. Appreciate it.
Good. Always a pleasure. Of course, Pete, you've had a varied background. You've coached in all different types of divisions. And, of course, talk about your background. Of course, you've been in football for most of your adult life.
Well, actually, this is my 46th football season coming up. So, yeah, it's been my whole adult life, really. But, yeah, I've been fortunate. I've been able to coach at every level, and I've enjoyed it immensely. And you know, it's been a very interesting career working with kids all over the country, and it's been a lot of fun, really.
You know, you've always played a tough schedule, too. Some of the teams Norfolk State's played in the past is Rutgers, West Virginia, Kentucky, of course. You got Maine this year, of course. But you've always played tough teams. And, Pete, that kind of sets the tempo for your year.
Well, it does, and that's by design, you know. I mean, if you're going to try to be the best, and I think you got to play the best, and that's what we try to do. And you know, like this year, our first 4 games this year, we're at Maine, and we have Liberty at home, who was co-champions of the Big South, and then we go play against William and Mary, who's one of the better teams in the CAA, and then we go to Buffalo, which is our Division I game. So 4 tough ones, but if you come out of that 2-2, 3-1, I think you can look for a great year.
And talk about some of your stops along the way. As we're talking to Pete Adrian, I know you spent a long time at Bethune-Cookman and some time at Rhode Island and West Virginia.
Yeah, well, then I started at Rhode Island as the first graduate assistant there in the history of the school in the athletic department. Show you how old I am. But then I left there and I went to Idaho State for 4 years, which was a lot of fun and really a culture change living out in the Big Sky country, but it was beautiful. And then I went back to the University of Rhode Island. I was a defensive coordinator at the age of 25, which was pretty young at the time, and learned a lot of football and spent 10 years there. Then I became the head coach at Bloomsburg University for 7 years in Pennsylvania in the PSAC conference. Mm-hmm. Then I went down to Florida, and I was the athletic director and head football coach at Deltona High School, and had the chance to coach my 2 sons, which was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Kind of gave me the best of both worlds. And after my youngest son graduated, I went to Bethune-Cookman as a defensive coordinator. There for 7 years, with the stop in between with the XFL, I was the defensive coordinator of the Chicago Enforcers, which was a lot of fun for that year that we did that. Mm-hmm. And then I became the head coach here at Norfolk State 10 years ago.
We're talking to Pete Adrian, the head football coach of Norfolk State. Greg Bicoveris, glad you're with us live on the radio. This is Sports Scene right here at 1240. Also News Talk 1650 a.m. And you talk about your first 4 games. Only the first game on September 6th is at home. But, of course, you got Maine and first, then Wayne Mary, then Buffalo. But 1 out of 4, Pete, it's going to be a challenge for your young team.
Yeah, but, you like the challenges, and really we have a veteran defense coming back. We've been pretty decent on defense most of the time, and we're expecting some real big things out of them. And we've got most of our offense coming back. We still got to make a decision at quarterback, which we're in the middle of spring practice right now, so I think we'll come out of there with a definite starter, which would be real good. And we're expecting to have a pretty good football team this coming year.
And, of course, you had winning records, of course, recently in 2011, and you were 9-3. And some of these seniors now were on that team, Pete. And, of course, hopefully, I guess that experience will carry over.
Well, there's no question about that. And, of course, we have a couple outstanding linebackers with Lyndon Trell, who was the FCS Defensive Player of the Year nationally, coming back. He's a 6'7", 260-pound outside linebacker. And, he's been a great player for us, and we expect a big year out of him, and I think he'll have a chance to go to the next level after that. But we have some good kids, and, again, they understand, like Maine is the defending champion of the CAA and been in the playoffs quite a bit. So, you go up there and beat them, then you got a chance to beat anybody.
Yeah, you talk about some rich heritage teams like over the years, JMU, Delaware. Of course, JMU's got a brand new coach too. But you talk about some of your past players, of course, present, future, always. But you talk about Clark King, and so many different players that have come along at Norfolk State. Then your recruiting class of Kyle Archie, Terry Polk, and Ricky Haley, I believe, are all solid players.
Well, then we also got the quarterback out of L.C. Bird here that won back-to-back state championships, named Irvin. He's never lost a high school game. He's 29-0. He's a 6'3", 200-pound player, and he's a pretty good player, and he'll get a good look at us in fall camp, chance to compete for the starting job, I think.
I got to ask you this, too, because, my mom went to Ohio State. You grew up in Ohio. How much of an influence was Woody Hayes in the running game to you as a kid?
Well, probably the biggest influence, Woody Hayes coached my dad in high school.
Wow.
So,
talk about it. How was that experience?
There are some interesting stories going on with that. What Woody did to them, I think he'd be put in jail now, but he was a great guy for him. Mm-hmm. And, I've always kind of been old school. I mean, you can't win the game without being able to run the football. And when you really look to see who wins the championships all the time, probably 8 out of 10 conference championships are teams that have the ability to run the ball and be able to run it downhill when you have to.
Mm-hmm. Talking to Pete Adrian, the head football coach at Norfolk State. Greg Bicoveris, glad you're with us. This is Sports Scene right here every Wednesday live on the radio from 12 to 1 at a convenient hour. Unlike other sports talk shows in the market, we are convenient, catering to our guests always. And Pete, you talk about the biggest challenges for athletes today. Of course, it's always the before and after, the academics, the athletics and activities. Then you see what these kids at Northwestern say they want to form a union, but what they don't realize selfishly is, what about they might want it this year, but how about the players 5 to 10 years from now at Northwestern that might have nothing to want to do with this? And that's the thing that these kids are not mature enough to get. That they're getting a full scholarship, they're getting good meals on the road, they're getting the meal plan. They don't need to be a union like any other union.
Well, my feeling on that is, first of all, I think it's almost impossible to do because there's just too many.
Sure.
Every school is a different story. You hear about these people saying this is a billion-dollar industry, but it might be an industry, but there's nobody together. Everybody has their own little thing that they're doing, and everybody's financial situation is different. But, like I tell a lot of people, how would you like to be a young man coming out of college? Coming out of high school, you're 18 years old, and basically you're getting anywhere from a $30,000 to $50,000 job, so to speak, which is your scholarship. Mm-hmm. And I think what people fail to remember is most kids now come out and they've got years and years and years to pay off these college loans. If you're an athlete and on full scholarship, you don't have anything. So it's a two-way street, and I think we better have our eyes open because from a financial standpoint, I don't think it can be done.
Absolutely. Talking to Pete Adrian right here. Well, we're in the spring. Talk about spring practice, how it's evolved over the years when you first got here till 2014.
Well, back in the day when we used to have spring ball, you had 20 days to get 36 days to practice 20 times, and you could go out and have contact every day. And if the coach didn't like the practice, he just canceled halfway through, and that didn't count.
Sure,
sure. We've gone a long way where everything is restricted to hours and so many days, and you can only have so many days in pads, and in those days you can only hit so much. 50% of a practice, you can have 3 practices where you can just go out and scrimmage, and it's all about safety of the players, which I think is really a real good thing. Because be honest about it, after 7 or 8 practices, as a coach, you pretty well already have your evaluation done of your players, and you're really hoping towards the end you just don't get anybody hurt.
Got to ask you a few more questions before we get to a lighter note here. You took on Rutgers a lot in the past, and you faced Greg Schiano, of course, who was the former head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. What do you think went wrong with Greg? Of course, you played him a lot at Rutgers.
Well, it's it always what happens, I think, in the NFL, particularly for probably most of the coaches there, is that they really don't have control over the players they're going to get. That's done at another level, and of course they're going to tell you they're getting you the best players, and you got to do with what. But I think it depends on the system that you're going to run and who you have, and of course, as we experienced this past year, if you don't have a good quarterback, you may not be an all-pro kid, but you got to have a quarterback that can do what you want to do for you to be successful, particularly in the NFL. I mean, you look at the NFL, you look at some of the guys at the backup quarterbacks or the third-team quarterback, and they've got the greatest job in the country right now. They might be 38 or 40 years old, and they're getting paid, and they're not doing a whole lot.
And their shelf life doesn't last that long. Just look at so many coaches, maybe 1 year or 2 years, like the Browns coaching staff. It just changes right where you grew up at, simply year to year. There doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of consistency, unlike like what Penn State had for so many years with Joe Paterno.
Right, and I think that's the thing too. I mean, it's what can you do for me now? And of course, they're paying out all these $1 million contracts, and they expect everybody to win right now. And even though the money's got huge in the NFL, and certainly for the top 50 or 60 guys in college football, it still takes you 4 or 5 years to develop a consistent winning program. That just doesn't happen overnight unless you just get every top player that you possibly can. And I think you hurt a football team when you keep turning it over, because now you're going right back again to somebody new over and a new terminology and new philosophy. And, there's nothing like experience. And you look at the teams that win most of the time, they have experienced people.
Exactly. And, of course, talking to Pete Adrian right here, this is Sports Scene right here on News Talk 1650. You look at last year, you guys went 3-9, but you were almost in every ball game except for Rutgers. I mean, even Old Dominion, 27-24, you guys could have easily turned that around.
Yeah, we had 8 games in a row where in the fourth quarter it was either tied or 3 points or 7 points either way, and we were able to win a couple of them. But, you got to win them close ones. Just like an Old Dominion game, we missed a field goal late in the fourth quarter, and they made theirs on the last play of the game. But you have those years, and that's the great thing about athletics. Every year when you start off the next year, you're 0-0, and it's what can you do for me now?
You know what? And I don't think Old Dominion was ever the same after your game, because they could not show up against a big-time team like North Carolina. You cannot, and I'm sorry, I can say this because it's my show, you cannot just say I'm going to go to your house and tell you when to start and stop a game. You can't do that. If Woody Hayes would have done that to Bo Schembechler, he would have been laughed out of the building.
Yeah, well, if you hang around long enough, I guess you see everything.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, I got to tell you this on a lighter note. I've done a lot of stage managing work for ESPN, worked a lot of your games. And a couple of years ago, you remember that big traffic jam on 64 and 664 trying to get to your game? How much do you have to tell your kids, you got to get there early, you got to be hydrated, you got to go to bed at a decent hour? Those rules have not changed. You got to be well fed, but you don't eat too much because you want to have something left for a 1 o'clock game.
Right. Well, we always, and you're right, we have the pregame meal and all that stuff, and really, we're with the kids probably at least 4 hours before game time.
Yeah.
So, they may be resting or in some meetings or whatever, but then some of them, we're watching football games on TV, depending on what time we kick off. But, yeah, you got to have them here. That way you got everybody and you know exactly what they're doing.
Well, Pete, good luck with the rest of the spring. I know the main game is not that far away. We're talking August 30th, and, of course, that'll be on the road. That's a great time of the year. Get some of that good clam chowder up there if you can.
There you go.
But always a pleasure, my friend, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Pete Adrian right there. Ken, very colorful head football coach at Norfolk State. Really a real gentleman, really giving a lot of good insight on local sports.
And how fortunate are we in this area to have such good college teams, ODU, NSU, William & Mary. I mean, you got some great teams, and UVA just down the road, Blacksburg. The state is wall-to-wall with great sports teams and great colleges. So very fortunate to be in the Commonwealth. And Norfolk State just kicking some butt.
Yep, and great festivals, too. Just a great time of the year. All right, stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages on Sports Scene.
The place the locals and tourists go for U.S. rare coins and currency is Newcastle Coins and Collectibles in Chesapeake. They specialize in U.S. silver and gold coins, provide free verbal offers, and are always buying U.S. rare coins. Visit them at 681 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, across from Chesapeake General, Tuesday through Saturday, and online at newcastlecollectibles.com. Call 609-3633. That's 609-3633 for Newcastle Coins and Collectibles.
Fink's Car Care, with locations in Chesapeake and Portsmouth, is your dedicated Tire Stars dealer. At Fink's, their experienced staff specializes in brakes, steering, suspension, tune-ups, oil changes, and much more. They also handle rebuilt engines and transmissions, and they're your destination for tires, rims, and towing as well. Fink's is located at 2236 South Military Highway at 2711 Victory Boulevard. For more information, log on to finkscarcare.com or call 545-3573.
It's now time for Greg's Highlights on Sports Scene, presented by DJBTV.com Marketplace Sponsors page.
All right, I want to thank our first three guests so far, Matt Schultze, Andy Cohen, and Pete Adrian. This is Sports Scene, of course. Go to GJBTV.com for Sports Scene. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows. This will be archived tomorrow. Shop on the Marketplace sponsors, some great sponsors on the homepage, and also the Marketplace sponsors page. We have two of them. Save the date each Wednesday from 12 to 1 for Sports Scene. Save the date for the Newport News Greek Festival, May 29th to June 1st. Of course, Collegiate Sports Focus coming up this Saturday at 3 o'clock on Sky 4. And the Dr. Mary V. Bickaveris Memorial Tennis Tournament today at 5 o'clock at the Hampton Tennis Center, named after my mom. And, of course, a lot of good stuff going on right now. Ken, real quick, we lost a legend, Mickey Rooney, recently.
Oh, yeah. Well, he had an amazing career and many wives. His most recent is a friend of mine. She is just fabulous. My birthday was a few days ago, and she just lost Mickey. She still took the time to send me a very nice birthday greeting. That's the kind of person Jan Rooney is. She's probably the best thing that happened to Mickey.
Yeah.
So I had kind of a personal connection to Mickey through Jan. So yeah, it touched me very much. But what an amazing career! If you look back, if you do IMDb on Mickey Rooney and look at all the things he has done, voice work, drama work. He did great drama. He was a comedian, song and dance. Ever since he was a little kid, entertaining people, just amazing. But great loss.
It really was. He was in a show called Bill, my dad, like back in the early 80s.
That was the first time I think the critics really said, hey, Mickey can act. It's like, yeah, no kidding.
And he was old then, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's get to our business spotlight. Do we have our guest on, Mr. Johnson?
We sure do.
All right, let's welcome right now Donald Hood from Battlefield Guns and Ammo, one of our premier signature sponsors right here on News Talk 1650. Donald, welcome, my friend.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Let's talk about your location, first of all, right there on Battlefield Boulevard.
Yes, sir.
Well, give us your address.
It's 240 North Battlefield, about a half mile north of the locks.
Absolutely. And your phone number there is 410-7720. And Donald, elaborate this. What kind of inventory do you have right now?
Right now, we've got a lot of new used Magpul, Glocks, Smith & Wesson, F&H, Ruger, pretty decent selection of AR tactical rifles, do a lot of builds, a lot of AR lowers.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, your website is battlefield-guns.com, correct?
Yes, sir.
And, of course, the main thing, too, that you and your mother and father and all the great people that work over there is responsibility for gun owners, whether you're hunting, but you want to be responsible first and foremost. That's very important for you guys.
Oh, by far.
Well, talk about it. How long you guys been there?
We've been here going on 4 years. Started out with about 7 guns, and I'd say right now total we're pushing about 300 on the shelf, continuously growing. As far as the responsibility aspect of it you were talking about, we do offer a firearms training course on the third Thursday every month. It's at 6 p.m.
Right.
Virginia and Utah, depending on how much you travel. Utah would be a very useful permit to have. Lets you be able to carry a concealed firearm in multiple states other than Virginia would let you.
Right there. Convenient location right there on Battlefield Boulevard, Battlefield Gun Shop, of course, and great websites. Facebook page, too, right, Donald?
Yes, sir. It's battlefield-guns/facebook.com.
And, of course, give us your hours.
10 to 7, Monday through Saturday. We are closed on Sunday.
Very good. Of course, hunting season's always a big time of the year for you guys, too, correct?
Oh, by far. I believe spring turkey season is coming up here shortly.
And I've been,
it's not already started.
And I've been seeing a lot of deer on the road lately. What's up with all the deer? Are they just getting confused by the weather?
Not quite too sure about that. I mean, they're pretty prevalent all year long around here.
But anyway, that's great. All right, Donald right there, Hood from Battlefield Guns and Ammo. All the best to you and your family. And, of course, your phone number is 410-7720, open Monday through Saturday. The premier gun shop for responsibility in Hampton Roads is Battlefield Guns and Ammo. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Donald Hood right there, Ken Johnson. Of course, let's get now to What Tees Me Off.
What Tees You Off? Presented by GJBTV.com.
And also on Ann's Pretzels in, of course, the great mall right there of Greenbrier. We got really good malls here, and that really gets to what I want to say. And the On Ann Pretzels, folks, are delicious. You got to try them. They got the pepperoni. They got the pretzel bites, really soft. You don't have to go to Philadelphia to get good pretzels. Go to On Ann's and see my buddy over there, right there in Greenbrier Mall. But they're pretty much in every mall. But On Ann's is right there in Greenbrier. Go by and get a pretzel. Tell them Greg sent you as well. Ken, how about the gas prices? You know, we talk about economy, but, you know, the gas prices have been a joke. Oh, I think a lot of us can't wait to this year, 2016. You figure it out, folks. Pollen in the air. Ken, my sister and her daughter had to park their car in my garage because my sister's baby, a beautiful Maria, is 11 months old, so we didn't have to get so much pollen on her. Well, it's one thing the rain did help is wash that pollen away.
Yeah.
Too much hype for anything. We hype way too much stuff. Let's just like opening day in baseball. Who's talking about the hype now? It's sustained. The key word is sustained. It's 162 games. All right, writing on Facebook can just to be writing when you've got nothing to say, folks. Before you tweet, email, and Facebook, think about before you hit the send button.
Absolutely. So many people just say, I just had a bologna sandwich. Okay, Stop the presses. Let's make sure the media gets that in. You have that on the lower end, the lame things. They're like, I'm mad today, and silly stuff like that. Or I woke up angry, just moronic stuff. Way too many cat and dog pictures on Facebook.
Yeah.
Come on, we know there are cats and dogs out there. We don't need to see every daggone one of them. On the other end of the spectrum, we have really good posters. A friend of mine, you hear here on CBS, Peter King, down in Florida. He posted some pictures of the blood moon, a series of the pictures he took. He's quite a photographer, too. I didn't know that until recently. That were just amazing, or were recopied, retweeted. Something of value. Say or do something or post a picture that may uplift somebody, be something hasn't seen. Don't retweet or recopy the same old tired jokes and bits that have been done a million times. It's a social media outlet that gives you an opportunity to say and do things, express yourself or express things you can't anywhere else. Don't waste it.
Right. And, of course, folks, parking. In Norfolk, you're trying to boost your economy there. A lot of businesses are leaving Granby Street because there's so much charging for parking. Learn from Virginia Beach, pretty much. You don't have to pay to go parking at the town center. Hampton, Peninsula Town Center, you're all wrong there by charging people to park. In some places, yes, it's free, but this is not New York or Chicago. Also, what do people have against ketchup? Ketchup is a great product. I hate to go to restaurant saying, well, we don't serve ketchup on hot dogs. Well, to me, ketchup is great. Also, we talk about cliques. Cliques, not only in school for kids and peer pressure, but this is Holy Week. Yes, it is. But a lot of reasons why people don't like going to church that often, cliques at church.
Oh, yeah. And that's unnecessary and goes against the whole reason you're going to church, hopefully the reason you're going to church. There's just no need for that. Let's exercise a little brotherly love. And real quick about the ketchup thing, if you're ever in Florida or Disney World and you go to the Whispering Canyon Cafe at the Fort Wilderness Lodge and you go in there and you order ketchup, the waitress stands there and yells, ketchup! And everybody in the restaurant that has a ketchup bottle brings you their ketchup, and then it's your job to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Little fun thing they do with ketchup.
I love ketchup. I could use it every day on a lot of different products, except pretty much string beans. But want to thank our great sponsors, too. Another thing, too, is, you talk about the parking, how they're trying to build Waterside up here in a few years ago. Waterside had its best day yesterday, but the Dominion Tower, we used to work at a certain place over there. They charge people more and more to park there. So basically, you're going to have to pay mega bucks for gas, then you got to pay for parking there for what in return? To have a rough day and come home and complain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a little silly, but I think the reasoning behind all that is They want you to ride the tide.
And I'm not riding
that choo-choo.
And Norfolk, get a big PR boost. You got the tolls down there. Don't charge people for parking for the month of May. How about that fact? Ken Johnson, what's up with CBS News?
I think our incredible engineer Terry has actually fixed the satellite. I wonder, he's a little like Scotty on Star Trek. He'd always say, Captain, it'll take at least 6 weeks to fix that. And then 15 minutes later, it's all set and running, Captain. I wonder if he did that because he said we wouldn't be back up till tomorrow. And then he just came in here a little while ago and says, you got your networks back.
Well, that's true. A lot of people say no first, but Terry does a great job of it. Got to be nice to those engineers that work on the transmitters. I want to thank our great guests, Ken, Matt Schultze from Kingsmill, also Andy Cohen talking about the food bank, Pete Adrian, very engaging head football coach of Norfolk State, Donald Hood with Battlefield Guns and Ammo, also our great friends and sponsors there, Southern Rustic Family Restaurant as well, and Brandon Mines. Go by and see him at the Chesapeake Square Mall. Southern Rustic, Luigi's, On Anns, and Silver Eagles. Ken Johnson, take it away. I'm Greg Bicaveras, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Next Wednesday at noon to 1 with Sports Talk with Greg Bicaveras. Remnant Radio is next on AM 1650 WHKT in Portsmouth. It's 1 p.m.